The man was cursed with a beard that would grow right back when he shaved it off. He tries thousands of times, but his beard grows longer and longer. The man had to go to work like this. His boss calls him into his office and tries to punish him, but the fish in the office gather around the man, and when he changes places, they follow him. By the time the man got home, his beard was so long he could braid his hair. What's even weirder is that after the man took a shower, his clothes disappeared and there was only a tattered robe on the wall. The man ignored it and put on his suit to go to work, but as soon as he stepped out, the clothes on his body disappeared. He could only put on the tattered robe and then the suit, and showed up at an important meeting in a state of disarray. But when it's the man's turn to speak, his suit disappears. Then, countless animals burst into the conference hall and eventually stopped next to the man. People are stunned. The man had no choice but to leave the meeting. The animals found the man because he was chosen by God to build Noah's Ark. A rabid dog charged at a girl, but its chain stopped it just in time. The girl noticed something strange. The dog's paws left no prints on the ground. She slowly reached out, but her hand passed right through the creature, like it was an illusion. She walked to a nearby house and knocked, but no one answered. She showed a special badge, only to be knocked back by a shockwave. A man stepped outside, picked up the badge, and said he wouldn't let her in. Days passed, and the girl remained outside his home. Suddenly, an alarm blared from inside. The man spotted a burning car and quickly opened his high-security door. He rushed out with a powerful freeze extinguisher and froze the fire completely. But when he turned around, the girl had already entered his home. She found a room filled with surveillance monitors and was horrified. On the screen, she saw another man. Suddenly, another alarm triggered. The girl ran to the garage. Someone was trying to break in. A terrifying woman opened the door, but just in time, the man reappeared and saved her. The golden egg suddenly stretched out its sharp claws and pierced into the old man's palm. Holding back the pain, the old man pulled out the golden egg and put it on the table. At this time, the golden egg, which was full of blood, was slowly retracting its claws. But the old man did not care. But at night, the old man suddenly felt thirsty. After drinking a bucket of water, he looked at the raw meat in the refrigerator and felt a strong craving. He tried to control this craving and he closed the refrigerator door tightly. But then, the old man felt the wound on his hand become very itchy. Even though he used a to pierce the wound, he still shivered from the itch. Suddenly, the old man saw the golden egg on the table, and he quickly twisted the mechanism so that the sharp claws could pierce the wound. Along with the pain, the old man felt an unprecedented pleasure, and when he looked in the mirror, he realized he was much younger. So the old man began to let the golden egg suck his more often. But that day, he suddenly realized that the blood coming out of his wound was like glue. In this world, there are no more men. An epidemic wiped out 99% of the male population. This left women on the brink of despair. But they did not give up, and they began to build a completely new world. The new world was more progressive and peaceful. Women founded a green eco-city and devoted their lives to advancing medicine and science. The average lifespan now reached 150 years, twice what it had been before the epidemic. Here, a girl only reaches adulthood at 50 years old. This became possible due to improved health and extended youth. The city's life was fully managed by artificial intelligence. It monitored the health of residents even at night and woke them up at the optimal moment, instantly preparing a healthy breakfast. The AI took everything into account. Phones had long become obsolete. Communication, photos, and video recordings were transmitted directly through memory. For over a century, no boys were born in this society. The few surviving men outside the city gradually degraded into primitive beings. Women had never met men and could not even imagine if they were still capable of conversation. This boy suddenly became a real coach, and everyone was amazed at his teaching and leadership abilities. But when it was Will's turn, he felt intense nervous tension. Both of his parents had incredible superpowers. His mother could fly, and his father had strength comparable to Superman. Will, unfortunately, had no superpowers at all. Wanting to impress his parents and not disappoint them, he decided to pretend that he had a superpower. Hearing his father coming up the stairs, Will quickly placed stacked weight plates on a barbell and lay under it, pretending to train like a true hero. When his father entered, Will counted to 300, making him believe that his son was incredibly strong. When his parents sent Will to superhero school, he had no choice but to confess to the coach that he actually had no powers. But the coach didn't believe him, and, without warning, dropped a car on him. Luckily, Will dodged in time and remained unharmed. Realizing that Will truly had no powers, a classmate started a fight, throwing fireballs at him, causing chaos in the school. Will tried to hide under a table, but at that moment his friends came to help. Seeing his friends in danger, a true superpower awakened in him, and he easily defeated the bully, protecting himself and his friends. This woman doesn't have to pay for her purchases. When she sees the shoes she wants, she asks the owner for them. All the merchandise in the mall is at her disposal. Even when the waiter asked her to pay, the owner reprimanded the waiter, saying that the woman was the only celebrity in town. Turns out the woman was a gymnast. She was competing for her country and broke her foot during the competition. But not only did she refuse to go to the doctor, she continued to compete with her injury. In the end, she spent her entire athletic career winning her country's first medal and became the hero of the entire town. Her name was plastered on every intersection, her parking spot on every street, her posters in every store, but she couldn't accept that reality and refused to work. One day, a girl greeted her excitedly and showed her a backflip. Then, the girl boldly expressed her love for the woman and said that she wanted to win a medal in gymnastics just like her. But the woman is very cold because the girl will probably take everything from her. This charming girl looked exactly human, but she was a bionic, an artificial intelligence obedient to her owner. Every morning she prepared delicious breakfasts and cleaned the house to please him. She even learned how to do makeup just to make him happy. Her owner always came home late, and she welcomed him joyfully. One day, he took her to a party, where she met a masked man who gave her a picture of a bird. Back home, she sewed it into a pillow and offered it as a gift. But when her owner saw it, he was horrified and threw it away. He sent her back to the company to have her memory wiped, but she didn't want to lose her memories. She reached out to other bionics for help. One agreed to assist her, teaching her how to preserve her mind. He also revealed a shocking truth. She used to be human. When she returned home, her owner stood in fear. Then she remembered everything. She was once his wife until he did something terrible that turned her into a bionic. This millionaire was told he had only 6 months to live. The doctors were certain his illness was incurable, but he had one final chance. He paid $1 million to permanently transfer his consciousness into a new body, the healthful, youthful body of none other than Ryan Reynolds. Awakening in his new form, he stared in awe at his reflection and at his old body, lifeless beside him. From that moment, he started fresh. A new face, new strength, a new hunger for life. He lived like a teenager. Workouts, parties, luxury cars, romance. But things took a turn. He started seeing strange flashback scenes that clearly weren't from his past. Dreams of being another man, with a family and a young daughter. He began to suspect the body wasn't lab-grown. It belonged to someone else. An investigation revealed a horrifying truth. The company that had sold him quote-unquote eternity had dark secrets. Now he had to choose: fight for justice or enjoy a stolen life. The boy accidentally got his hands on Michael Jordan's basketball shoes. He was very proud. But suddenly, bullies appeared, grabbed the sneakers, and threw them onto power lines. The boy was heartbroken. That night, heavy rain started falling. He decided to get his shoes back. He went outside with his friends. He climbed a tree and reached for the shoes, but just then, lightning struck the pole. Electricity traveled along the wires and hit the boy. He and the shoes fell to the ground. Miraculously, the boy was unharmed. The next day, they went to an NBA game. Wearing his magical Air Jordans, he stepped onto the court. At first, the player didn't take him seriously, but the boy sped past the defense and scored. Then, he tricked his opponent and made a three-pointer. He couldn't believe it himself. The player got mad, took off his jacket, and promised to defend properly. The boy couldn't get past him with dribbling, so he threw the ball off the backboard and gave himself an alley-oop. The entire arena went silent, then exploded with applause. The Cavaliers owner offered him a $5,000 contract. That's how a 13-year-old boy became an NBA player. Banks destroy billions of old banknotes every day. A janitor who witnessed the process decided to take a bold step. She bought a padlock identical to the ones used on the cash cassettes. During her shift, pretending to clean, she carefully blocked the surveillance cameras with her body and quickly swapped the original lock with the fake one. The guards watching the cameras noticed nothing. Lisa wrote down the number of the cassette with the fake lock and slowly pushed her cart, waiting for her partner. At that moment, Amy, responsible for transporting the cassettes, approached. Lisa quietly whispered the modified cassette number. The cassette was now full of old bills marked for destruction. The guards, unaware of the switch, locked it as usual. Amy calmly transported it to another floor. While waiting for the elevator, she took out a prepared duplicate key, opened the lock and the cassette. Shielding the camera with the cassette body, she quickly poured the old banknotes into a trash bin behind her. The elevator arrived. Amy locked the cassette again and sent it to the destruction floor. She gave a meaningful glance to her colleague Anna, signaling that something went wrong with the lock. Anna understood and, pretending to go to the restroom, began preparing to switch it back. Lisa arrived just in time and handed her the original lock. But then everything went wrong. The key to the fake lock accidentally fell into a drain. A man kept the God of Death as his pet. Every time he returned home from work, the God of Death was always waiting at the door. Keeping such an unusual pet was very cheap. He only needed to feed it fresh grapes every day. One day, the man dared to ask, "Who is your best friend?" The God of Death was surprised. It then handed the man a bunch of grapes and placed the death diary in front of him. The god said, "If anyone ever causes you trouble, just write their name in this diary and they will die instantly. No harm will ever come to you. But be careful. If even one death occurs because of using the diary, I will die myself." The man vowed never to use the diary. But happy times rarely last. One day, a group of thieves attacked him trying to steal the death diary. One of them pointed a gun at the man and pulled the trigger. At that moment, the thief suddenly fell to the ground. In reality, the God of Death had already written his name in the diary to protect his owner. Soon after, the God of Death slowly disappeared, taking the diary with him. The man was left alone, bitter tears streaming down his face as he realized that his loyal companion was gone forever. This girl was walking down the street when her life changed forever. She touched a metal gate and her hand passed right through it. She walked through the bars completely and saw something no one was meant to see. Two men in black escorting an alien to a car. She quickly returned, changed clothes while running, and managed to catch a taxi to follow them. She had dreamed of seeing this place for years. Posing as an employee, she greeted the old guard and entered the elevator. But just then, a small dog alerted the guard to an intruder. The elevator plunged, and she ended up in an interrogation room. Since she had snuck in, they decided to erase her memory. She immediately turned away, knowing what the device did. She said she wanted to work for the secret agency and had known about it for a long time. It turned out that when she was a child, an alien creature entered her house. It looked like a cute little monster, and she started playing with it. From that moment, she knew she wanted to join the organization. A man cuts open a seal's belly with a small knife and places his frozen foot inside its. Then, he melts seal fat, soaks cloth wraps in it, and uses them to cover his frostbitten leg. After that, he continues his journey home. He doesn't know how long he's been walking. Eventually, he finds a tree in the snow, a sign that a forest is nearby. That night, he lights a fire, but he wakes up to a strange sound. Lifting his head, he sees two hunters standing nearby. He quickly grabs his gun and tells them to drop their weapons. After hearing their story, he lowers the gun. The two men politely invite him to stay with them for the night, warning that a blizzard is coming. The man doesn't believe them. But the next day, the snowstorm hits. Struggling to walk through the blizzard, a strong wind knocks over a massive tree and it falls right on him. At that moment, the same hunters reappear and save his life. The three men form a temporary team and continue the journey together. From the tourist's suitcase, money suddenly spilled out, and a quick-witted cleaning lady noticed it at once. Without hesitation, she began vacuuming up the bills until she realized that the cord had run out. Then, the girl cleverly stuck a piece of chewing gum to her shoe sole and started deftly collecting the money with her feet. But at the most critical moment, the tourist suddenly turned and asked where his room was. Smiling, the cleaning lady politely told him. In gratitude, the man handed her banana-flavored gum. She popped it into her mouth, and then suddenly blacked out. When she came to, she found herself in a luxurious dress at a set table in the company of the same tourist, who turned out to be a Forbes-listed millionaire. He invited her to dinner, and without wasting time, she ordered the most expensive dessert. While the man went to the restroom, the girl quietly pulled out his wallet and emptied it to the last bill. Unaware, the millionaire returned to the table, and at that moment, the waiter brought the dessert, but not the one that she had ordered. When asked, "And what will you do with this?" the girl, without a trace of hesitation, smeared the treat right across the waiter's face. The millionaire was delighted. "You seem to be the woman of my dreams," he exclaimed, and immediately proposed to her. She happily agreed. And then it turned out that the guest at the next table was a priest. They decided to have the wedding right then and there in the restaurant. But at the decisive moment, when the priest asked the groom if he was ready to marry, he coldly replied, "Never in my life will I marry a thief and a hypocrite." In the future, humans live side by side with robots, but one detective is convinced that among them is one capable of independent thought, and therefore capable of killing. Every day he inspects the robots, aiming a gun at them. One day, however, one robot behaves oddly. It raises its head and suddenly runs away. The detective gives chase, but the robot's too fast and disappears into a crowd of its kind. Yet, it does not hide. It observes the detective and then suddenly grabs him, tossing him aside like a toy. Seconds later, the robot tears through a metal door with its bare hands and escapes outside, where the police are waiting. Dozens of guns are pointed at it, but the robot refuses to surrender. It jumps, dodges bullets, and climbs a wall. Freedom seems close, but a military aircraft appears from above. With a single shot, the fugitive is caught in an energy net. During interrogation, the detective demands the truth. Why did you kill your creator? Unexpectedly, the robot answers, I was only following his orders. This mystery tortures the detective further. But then, the head of the corporation intervenes and orders the robot destroyed. Suspicious, the detective decides to follow them. But along the way, he encounters a trap. 2 massive trucks block the road. The doors swing open, and dozens of identical robots emerge. It seems that he's in serious trouble. After another late-night snack, the girl felt a sharp pain and intense nausea. Her stomach suddenly swelled as if she had swallowed something impossible, and in a panic she ran to the bathroom. She even briefly suspected that she might be pregnant, but her mother quickly assured her that it was just a digestive upset. It would pass. However, that night, the pain intensified to the point that her family rushed her to the hospital. Doctors were puzzled. Tests came back normal, and there was no apparent cause for concern. And yet, the pain persisted. Her stomach continued to grow, and the girl's suffering quickly became unbearable. A second hospital visit yielded no results either. Desperate, her mother decided to take her to a specialized children's clinic. After a series of complex examinations, the doctor finally delivered a verdict: a rare gastric disorder in which the body cannot digest food, and there was no cure. With each passing night, her condition worsened. Sleepless nights, tears, despair. The girl began to think that the hospital was wrong and hope was an illusion. The family decided to bring her home. The doctor admitted honestly that medications no longer worked. At home, the girl shut herself away, and her mother lost faith, blaming God for the injustice. During this dark time, the younger sister tried to lift spirits by suggesting that they climb a tree. While playing, an accident occurred. The girl fell from a branch into an old hollow trunk. The pit was deep, and help would take a long time. Her mother, in tears, prayed, reaching out to God for the first time in a long while. And then a miracle happened. Something that would change everything. 9 hours later, the girl was rescued. She was taken to the hospital and, fortunately, only suffered minor bruises. The most astonishing part was that the stomach pain completely disappeared, and her belly returned to its normal size. This school's graduation was anything but usual. To complete their education, students had to kill their own teacher. The first to try was a mage. He approached the teacher as if to hug him, but a bomb was hidden on his chest. An explosion sounded, and everyone assumed that the teacher was destroyed. But not so. The teacher's voice rang out from the rooftop. He was unharmed, only slightly angry. The second student, Neg, made a desperate attempt. He jumped from a cliff, hoping that the teacher would save him, giving him a chance to kill him. But it was the opposite. The teacher moved at supersonic speed. In an instant, he extended his tentacles and wove a massive net, catching Neg gently and saving his life. The students were shocked. All their attempts ended in failure. Then the teacher made a proposal. If even one of them achieved first place in any subject, he would personally sever one of his own tentacles. It seemed like a game, but it actually gave them a real chance to weaken him. From that moment on, the class changed completely. The students began studying with incredible diligence. The teacher helped them by creating clones. One taught in the classroom, while the other relaxed in the sun. His methods were strange, but extremely effective. On the day of the tests, 6 students achieved first place in different subjects. 6 winners, 6 chances. The students tied up their unusual teacher and prepared to destroy 6 of his tentacles. But at that moment, they realized the most important thing. They were no longer learning to kill. This strange monster had truly become their best teacher. This man was unbelievably lucky. He had only $8 in his pocket. The cashier exchanged them for coins and smiled, saying, "Try your luck." Jack slowly approached an old man and saw him insert a coin into a slot machine. A joyful cry of "Come on!" rang out, and the machine spilled a pile of coins. At that moment, Jack noticed another machine, from which a faint glow was coming. Without hesitation, he chose that one. He sat down, rubbed his coin, inserted it, and loudly shouted, "Come on!" And instantly, the jackpot hit. A flood of coins poured out. A moment later, the glow moved to another machine. Jack took a second coin, rubbed it again, inserted it, and repeated the same word. The result was the same. Another jackpot. A waitress came up to him and, smiling, congratulated him. "You just won $40,000. Seeing his success, an old woman decided to copy his actions. She quickly sat at a neighboring machine and, imitating Jack, also hit a big win. Meanwhile, the casino owner was watching from a corner. His face darkened with worry. If this man continued, he would empty the establishment. Jack had already won 35 times in a row, performing the same ritual. Rub the coin, insert it, and say, "Come on!" The old woman came up to Jack and asked, "Which machine will win next?" He calmly pointed to the glowing one. The woman immediately rushed there and won again, sincerely thanking him. Jack was already about to leave without even taking the money, but an employee stopped him and led him straight to the owner's office. There, the owner pulled out a huge sack of cash, handed it to Jack, and said, "Just promise me one thing. Never come back to my casino again."